Welcome back to Executive Tune-Up, where we make small tweaks which can result in big improvements in your performance. Now, today we're going to talk about something that's quite mysterious, I think, at our work, where sometimes we can be so persuasive, right? Where people are just like, yeah, let's do exactly what you said, Joe. That's a great idea. And other times people can run the gamut from, I'm not so sure to like, oh my God, that is the worst idea anyone in the history of the world has ever had. And today we're going to talk about one simple perspective shift that can make you much more consistently persuasive in all the moments where you need to be. So join us. So how can we be more persuasive in various situations? Now, part of the challenge here is our perspective of what it takes to be persuasive. So whether you call it persuasion or sales, sometimes the word sales is confusing because people are like, I'm not selling anything, right? But persuasion and sales, basically where you're trying to get someone to change from the default situation, which is not paying money for what you have or not agreeing for the new state that you're proposing in a project or any sort of state of being at work. So in that sense, we're talking about the same thing. And so the big principle here is we often think persuasion is about showing, right? It's about showing why this is the best way to go, showing why these are the facts and the figures, and I have these great graphs and this analysis, and this is why you should do what I think. And here's the secret, and here's the shift that you can make. Persuasion is not about showing, it's about knowing, right? Persuasion is not about showing, it's about knowing. Now, what knowing are we talking about? It's about knowing as much as you can about the person you're trying to persuade and their situation. What is their current state of situation that they're in? What are their current needs that they really need to fulfill? What are the various obstacles that may make them hesitant, resistant, or downright hostile to the thing that you're proposing? Because if you don't understand any of those, you can't really show the right things. Now, we often don't approach it that way, right? We just think if we have a really snazzy, great, strong, irrefutable argument or, wonderful TED Talk like presentation, everyone's just going to fall out of their chairs and agree with what we say. Now, that might happen, right? But you don't know that it's going to happen, and you don't know how close to the target you are in terms of what you're going to share if you just go in blindly and just start talking about whatever and don't understand the person. The more you know about what's making that person tick in that moment and what they need, the more persuasive you'll be. Now, how do you get there? How do you know more? Do you ask the person directly, well, what would make you agree to this right now? That's typically a little bit too straightforward. I mean, it might work with some people who don't mind that, but most people will be a little bit taken aback by that, might not answer honestly, and in fact, it may scare them away a little bit. So what can you do? First thing you can do is you can be observant, right? As you're engaging in the conversation and persuasion, you can see what are the things that they seem to nod their heads yes to, and what are the things where they seem to cross their arms and not really like, or make a little grimace on their face. You can talk to them and listen to what they say. Actually listen to objections that they may be offering to you. See, the challenge for a lot of us, especially the ones who like to talk, like myself, and who are good at talking, and I'll let you be the judge of that. We're talking so much. The other person wants to share the things that we need to know to be able to be more persuasive and align our needs with their needs. But we're sucking all the oxygen out of the room, right? They're not desperately trying, but they're desperately trying to get a word in, right? They're not desperately trying to, help us, but they're basically volunteering a lot of the information that will really help us understand where they're coming from and how our solution or proposal or product actually lines up really well and helps them with what they want to do. And you end up in that greatest of all situations, right? The win-win situation where, my persuasion helps them be better off, and then I'm also better off because there's a reason why I was proposing it to begin with. So the next time you find yourself in a situation where you're really trying to persuade someone, kind of resist that urge to just be showing all the time and talking all the time. And instead of broadcasting how great your solution or your proposal is, switch the dial a little bit where the broadcasting goes down temporarily and turn up the dial on understanding more and knowing, being more inquisitive, observant, and getting all that information and understanding how it matches up and how you can align both interests for the win-win. So remember, persuasion is about knowing, not showing. Well, thanks so much for attending another session of Executive Tune-Up. I'm Joe Kwan, the Connection Counselor. Remember, to do your best, you have to be at your best. So tune in to tune up.